Hello there. This is a homework problem from homework 5-2. Remember that this assignment and this assignment only has a due date extended by 24 hours because StatCrunch is not going to be available. And check out Blackboard for the details on that. So I tried to do this problem in StatCrunch, and I could get it to work in StatCrunch, but I think it's much easier to do it in Excel. So let me show you how to do it in Excel. First of all, let's look at the problem. Good problem solvers read the problem many times. And we have a national survey of college students asked about how often they wear a seatbelt when riding in a car driven by someone else. So now stop the tape for a moment and think to yourself, is this empirical or classical probability? This is empirical probability because we have collected data on a question, and to compute the probability, we're going to look at the relative frequency. This is very different than being able to determine all the possible outcomes up front. That would be a classical probability, like what are the possible outcomes when rolling a single die? There are only 6, and the probability of getting a 1 is 1 out of 6, since there's only one way to get a 1, and there are 6 possible outcomes. This is an empirical probability where the probability of a respondent saying, I never wear a seatbelt, is the relative frequency. So 150 divided by whatever the sum is. And you could probably do this just as easily on a calculator, but let me show you how to do it in Excel because it's worth learning how, I would say. And let me save this on the desktop and open this in Excel. And remember that you have access to Microsoft Office from SNHU. I posted, I think, a link on the announcements page at the beginning of the course about how to do it. If you have any trouble, let me know accessing that. So here's our data set. And to figure out the relative frequency, I'm going to double click here. You see that double arrow? That'll expand this cell to fit the width of the widest entry. So the relative frequency, I need the total. So I'm going to type equals sum, open paren, and select the cells I want the sum of. Enter, 4,384. The relative frequency is now the frequency of never response divided by the total. Now, I could type that formula in again, or I could drag it and fill it. And why do you suppose I got divide by 0? I will show you. It's because Excel is moving the cell I'm dividing by down 1 for each of these instances of the formula, and I don't want that. So I'm going to put a $sign between B and 7. Then I'm going to drag this, and that will keep the same divisor, B7, for every cell I copy this formula to. Now, these probabilities make sense to me because we know from the rules of probability, any event must have probability between 0 and 1, and the probability that someone chose one of these responses, if they responded, is certainly 1. And the most rare occurrence has the smallest relative frequency, so that makes sense. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to format this to the desired accuracy. MyMathLab asked for the nearest thousandth, so that's what we're going to get, 3 decimal places. So the relative frequency, or the probability that someone in this study said, I never wear my seatbelt and with someone else, is 0.034. 0.034. There we go. Rarely, well, 0.076. Good for me. And you can even copy and paste. And again, you may think it's easier to just do this on a calculator, and that's fine. I figured you could do that on your own, but I didn't know how comfortable you'd be doing this with Excel, so let's just do it in Excel. Now, there's another part, so let's continue. Would you consider it unusual to find a college student who never wears a seatbelt when riding in a car driven by someone else? Never. Okay, so first answer choice is yes, because the probability of never is between 1/100th and 1/10th. No, because the probability of an unusual event is 0. Yes, because the probability of never is less than 0.05. or no, because there were 150 people in the survey who said they never wear their seatbelt. Stop the recording for a moment and choose an answer for yourself and think about why you chose it. Okay, let's look at these. So you'll remember that our book adopts the convention that an unusual event is one that has a low probability of happening, and the way we quantify that is less than 5%. So don't choose this, because if you only ask 300 people, then 150 of them saying they never wear their seatbelt would be not unusual at all. So that's why relative frequencies are important here. And now we're done with this question. So I hope this was helpful. Please respond in the comments where I post this video on what was helpful or what other videos you'd like to see or how I could improve these.